My name is Bertie Horgan. I'm the Vice Chair of Derry Trades Council, and I'm delighted to welcome you all here tonight to the first of the Townhall meetings that the ICTU is holding, the NIC ICTU, the Northern Ireland Committee of the ICTU, is holding across Northern Ireland over the next couple of months.
I'm particularly happy that we're starting in Derry because I think you know all about struggle and you know all about the challenges that are facing your community, where we've seen quite a lot of neglect in the Northwest in recent decades. This campaign, I think, is timely. We launched the Stormont about a couple of weeks ago. I think it was right to launch it in Stormont because many of the decisions that we need to see happen are only going to happen if we force our politicians to do it, and it's going to require people power. It's going to require workers mobilised and organised in their workplaces and in their communities to get the politicians to do what we need done. I think we can't leave our future to chance. We have to make choices, and Stormont was the right place to launch the campaign. But where the campaign needs to build and grow is in the communities.
So the current crisis, as we've been referring to it, is the cost of living crisis. Very suddenly, the cost of energy went through the roof. And it's something obviously that very few households or businesses can live without. Inflation had been building for some months coming out of the pandemic, as obviously as supply and given the speed at which economic activity was returning.
If this campaign is to be seen as a success, we must address the culture of putting shareholders, profits and bonuses ahead of workers' rights and equality for all. Wealth which is created by workers must be shared equally with the workers. The very same issue is at the heart of the ongoing RMT and CWU disputes, where workers are being denied above inflation pay rises at the very same time as profits and bonuses payments soar.
I have in my hand pay slips for one teacher, a senior teacher, over a 17-year period. And that teacher was earning per month in July of 2005, £1,473. And in March of this year was earning £2,356. That's an increase over that 17-year period of £883. A per annum increase for that senior teacher of £51 per annum. Now we all know, you don't need me to tell you what inflation has risen by over the same period.
The immediate obstacles, first one for us would always be the absence of equality and human rights in the way that we should have them. And here at this part of the 21st century, there is no excuse for their absence and the level of poverty and dispossession that exists in this society. And if unions are about anything, and if they're going to succeed in any way, they have to put maximum attention on the people who are the most dispossessed and the most disadvantaged. And that's really an essential core part of this campaign.
I do want to say, I'll speak as a councillor first. We did agree as a council to endorse this campaign, which I'm proud of. I think we should be asking every single council across the north, across this island, to back the Workers Demand Better campaign. I think that this is the most important fight that we're in right now. But that I want to speak as a trade unionist. Look, in my opinion, it's when workers move, when communities move, that's when we see change.
My name is Cormac. I'm from the Sperrins, and I'm here to speak and to ask for your support for our campaign too, in terms of it's a campaign against the Canadian gold mining company that wants to start a massive gold mine in the Sperrins. And gold mining, some of you may know about it, I know some of you do know a lot about it, but gold mining is, put simply, a toxic industry. It poisons the water, it pollutes the air, it releases heavy metals and sulfuric acid into our rivers, and it proposes to pollute the whole Foyle River system from the Sperrins to the sea. And we discovered back a few years ago that, in fact, our system was working to enable this company to deliver a major project that they was going to make a small number of people very wealthy and poison the air on the rest of us and leave it behind a desert, a polluted desert.
Let's take Paddy from Unite, and then we'll maybe have people come back briefly before we go back to the floor.
Thanks very much, Greta. We were one of the councils without at the start for industrial action, Derry and Staban District Council. And people was telling us from different unions, you're never going to win. This is correct too. We should not be fighting unions. We should be in solidarity going out. We find we were quite lucky in Derry and Staban, we only have 2 unions, was Unite and Upset. We done our fight behind closed doors and we sorted it out with the local reps. And it was compromise give there. But our members had 1.75 for the last 12 years, and we decided at this campaign that we would go out and look for increments. What an increment is, I move up the pay scale by 1 increment. 1 increment was given me 2.5%. We're lucky at how our council was made up, because in any DUP council was very hard to get it over the line. As you've seen, Causeway Coast and Glen and other ABC was out in strike for longer. We went out for 1 week, we went out for 2 weeks, I came to go out for 4 weeks. We got engaged with our local councillors, sat down the chief executive and the management team, and we went down. What was realistic? Get 2 increments. No, we took 1 for this year and 1 for next year. And that was realistic, because at the day we heard what they say. We're not putting the rates up. And again, I do appreciate that the elected members that sit in this room, their parties, had told us straight they weren't putting the rates up. But they could find the money for this year, and next year we have to look for the hour increment. We achieved that. We got a one-off payment of £500, a hardship payment.
I suppose I'm speaking from a city that has been in a cost of living crisis for many, many years. And when you're already in poverty, another tsunami that comes across actually floors you. You've no resources left to fight it. So our workers have been under pressure for a long, long time. But Dr. Lisa, in relation to what you outlined in your and the figures that you portrayed tonight, we have another additional problem. When a cost of living crisis comes along, women are affected more dramatically than anyone else in the households and that. So I'd like to hear from the heads of the unions just exactly, how can we promote and help support our women who are living in this cost of living crisis and trying to budget in homes, and they're the most deprived and they're in part-time jobs, and it's stark there. There's thousands of pounds of a difference between men and women in our society and our workers.
Now McNally, Secretary Trade Union. I think we should also recognise the successes we're having, in organised workplaces, whether that be in private sector or public sector. SEP2, Unite, GMB have been delivering 11, 12, 13, 14% pay increases. Recently, similar to the comrade in the corner there, the council in Newry Morning Down, we've delivered pay increments and increases there worth the value between 11 and 14% of workers. But the problem is there's vast swathes of workers that are not organised or don't have access, and part of this campaign is about addressing that.
Chris Garrigan here from Oak Grove Integrated College. I'm a teacher and also a representative of the NIC ICTU. I want to thank Jerry sincerely for the IMTO for his excellent response. He's outlined how much we're struggling as well as teachers. We're the working poor as well, and our General Secretary had stated that over 12 years we've had a 20% pay cut in real terms, and we've had nothing and nothing and nothing, and we're banging doors all the time. 81% of our members had voted to strike, and 98% of our members had voted to or balloted to action, short of strike action, which we're actually implemented with the NTO and the rest of our sister trade unions. I'd like to say that a good deal for teachers is an excellent deal for children. Our children are the people who are affected the most whenever we are not being invested in. It's not just that. Our workload has been increased time and time and time and time again. I'm only contracted to work until 3:10. I'm still got more work to do, so I'm going to go home. I left work at 6 o'clock. It's over the weekends, it's during my holidays, it's everything, and it's taking up all the time that we have. There's more administration, there's new initiatives, there's a change in the needs of the child constantly, which we need to make sure that we bend our backs over for because they need us. And it's also the legislative changes and keeping children safe and the safeguarding changes that we need to make sure that we have at all times. We have to make sure that we're updated. We have to make sure that we're checking that the children are safe and they've got safe surroundings. They can't do that with no investment.
But we'll also bring that fight to Stormont. We'll also continue to bring forward bills that are going to improve the lives of workers, that are going to continue to make lives better. And just on Niall's point as well, we have been able to bring forward a bill which means that any public sector worker or public sector contract now has to employ living wage workers, so that is a bare minimum. Can we go further than that? Of course we can. But one of the gentlemen in the front row earlier touched on a key point, and he asked what Jim Larkin and what James Conley would think of today. And I think it's not about a theory of what they would do, it's looking at what they did. And what they did was to challenge not just the symptoms of the problem, but the root of the problem.
Thank you. Rural Southern Council and Derry Trades Council. I think it's Sean alluded to it there, that people always asking where does the money come from, and I think that's one of the myths that we need to start busting, because money only comes from one place, and that's the Bank of England. CJ don't create money, they create profit. It has to be redistributed. The Bank of England create money, politicians choose how it's spent, so they have to make their choice. They're either with us or without us, so it has to be redistribution of profits. The second point then is that we spoke a lot about trade union solidarity and about the campaign and how we're aiming towards a rally in Belfast now. But I think one of the things that we need to take into account as well is that at the end of this, all the unions are going to be balloted. We need to be organising all the unions together and we're going for a general strike and take everybody out the door.
Our fight for the NHS is not just about pay, it's not just about terms and conditions, it really is about the future of a national health service and it impacts every single person. And I suppose I really fear for the coming winter, and I think it is right that we are fighting back in the winter, because this is when times are going to be worse for workers but also for patients.
The thing that also was on board with that was safe staffing. 3 years on, being got. I'm working with colleagues who are tired, who are exhausted, delivering a service that has been underinvested, has been privatised. Where are we going with this? This is a public service that is meant to be what we call from the cradle to the grave. And the way this is going is practically going to the grave. Them politicians who sat with us on the picket lines promised us, and we're on there, and as Patricia hinted, we may have given a wee push back in the government. We're back in the same boat again. Where is our politicians? Our colleagues within England and Wales have got their percentage rise. Our colleagues in Scotland have got that. Where's our politicians who sign off ours? They're not going to get it. It could be next year before we even see any of that. And when we do see that, tax, national insurance, and everything else will be taken out of it, and there'll be nothing left of a so-called pay rise, way below inflation.
Where can we find a bit of hope? Now, a lot of people look to say, well, when they end sectarianism, and they look, and they're entitled to do this, and it's a decent thing to do, is try to look to moderate people in the middle, to lure people in from the extremes. And they want well-spoken middle-class people, no harm to them. Some of them are my friends. In the middle, they stop being part of this sort of sectarian argy-bargy. But in practical terms, if you look back over our history and ask yourself a simple question, in what circumstances have large numbers of Catholic and Protestant working class people, in what circumstances have they come together to link arms in pursuit of a political ideal? It is always in the context of the trade union movement, always. 1907, Larkin's been mentioned, 1911. immediately after the great wave of working class militancy and the aftermath of the First World War, 1919, into general engineering strikes. I could go on right up 1932 for riots in Belfast, and right up to the present day, sort of the health service over and over again. I mean, I've had the honour of speaking to rallies of health service workers, 25,000 strong in Belfast. That's not, and you stand on a platform and look at 25,000 people, they're looking to defend the health service. You can look all around, but there's no way of telling what community people come from. They're there for a single purpose. And it's the same story every time some people fight against poverty or fight for trade union rights. They are doing it in advancing a dimension of themselves, which has got nothing whatever to do with the community that you came from. And we want to get hope for a different Northern Ireland, a cleaner and non-sectarian Northern Ireland. Our history tells us, until we got recent history, that's how to go about it. Don't look to this or that sort of moderate leader. Look to the trade union movement. And look to methods which can be used, I say this in relation to Stormont, which are going to clear the way of obstacles. No longer should people be standing outside a factory trying to hand out leaflets about joining a trade union and be told that they call the police on you. That has happened to me. I suspect it's happening at the police officer. I remember standing with Aileen Webster, so many of you will know that was just here today, and be told, but call the police on you. And you do it because you're obstructing the passage. We didn't go, of course. You know, but deal with that. Deal with that. Give us access to people who want to be. It's true we need more people in unions. But it follows from that is we want to make it easier for people to join unions and easier for trade union representatives actually to get a sort of direct access to workers that we want to recruit. And we did those things that wouldn't solve all our problems. Not at all. But I'll tell you what, we won't solve all our problems without those things. So let's get to it.
And I wanted to speak as a health worker because I've worked in the health service for almost 20 years. And over that 20 years, I've seen the decline of the service that's being delivered. It's been alluded to around creeping privatisation. It's not even creeping anymore. It's blatant privatisation. So we're seeing that. We're seeing the impacts of a Tory austerity campaign that's having right across all our public services. And one of the things, because a lot of people that I work with who play a part in the delivery of key essential services, key public services, are earning less than what teachers were earning in 2005. So that shows you the scale of the challenge that people now delivering services, essential services within our city and district are facing during this cost of living crisis. I know people who I work with who go into work, they keep warm. That's where we're at. That's the scale of the pressure, and these are people who we've continuously stepped forward and said we value the work that they do. But that value isn't reflected on their pay or on the staffing numbers, which has been alluded to earlier. But one of the key demands that it sort of hasn't been touched on. There's Putting alluded to that there is opportunities. There's opportunities that are on the horizon. Everybody gathered in this room supports the Workers Demand Better campaign and the demands that are included within that. I suppose one key question the Congress of Trade Unions is that whenever the conversation advances around constitutional change on this island, will the Congress of Trade Unions, because the Congress of Trade Unions are an integral part of society, and when we're looking forward to the future of this island, the demands of the Workers Demand Better campaign need to be front and centre to how we shape this island going forward.
There's a lot of talk about unity here today, and I think that's absolutely brilliant and important. And it's important that it's not just unity between workers, people who are in work, but also people who are out of work. In this city, there's a lot of people who are dependent on benefits. And on November the 26th, Derry Trade Union Council has called a march, which has been supported by a number of the groups that are involved in various campaigns around the cost of living crisis. And it will be gathering in Guildhall Square at 1:30. You'll be glad to hear it's not one of them big long marches that we often have in Derry. It'll just be around the city centre. But we'd really encourage all of you to come. There's bundles of these leaflets available at the back there as you go out. Take them away, give them out in your workplace, give them out in your community. It's already up on our Facebook page, is it? On our social media. If it's not, it will be in the next couple of days. We have the demands of the Workers Demand Better campaign, but we've added to that other demands which are actually taken from the Trade Union Congress in Britain around rate rises in benefits. So the Trade Union Congress in Britain has said that we need to see benefits being about 80% of the living wage. Now, if you think about it, that would be about £260 a week for people who at present get £77 a week. So it is a good demand, and we've added that because we want to keep to the trade union. We have trade union demands, but have ones that fit particularly for this city where so many people are dependent, including people, of course, who are in work, are dependent on benefits. We know that about 30% of the population here at the moment, and 30% of universal credit claimants are in work, and we expect that to grow, given the wage rates here, to probably 50 or 60% if it should be low. So all of you, hope to see you on the 26th of November. That's 2 weeks on Saturday? Yeah, 2 weeks on Saturday.
I just want to come in very quickly on the point that this is higher than governments, or we need to go after corporations, whatever. I think it's a completely fair point, but do not let governments off the hook. Government policy can intervene in massive ways here. The evidence base that I showed you about earnings changes in Northern Ireland, they're worse here than what they are in the rest of the UK. They're worse here than what they are in the Republic of Ireland. That's due to a series of policy choices that have been made. Those points that we talked about in relation to gender or childcare strategies, whatever, we don't have a devolved administration. So the gender equality strategy and the childcare strategies have just been sitting there getting updated every single time that the devolved administrations come back into place, but nothing ever being done. Government can intervene, and government policies can affect action, can have positive action if they are done. So I get what I get your point, but there's fundamental things that policy levers that can be taken here which will have a positive effect.
Talk about childcare. Childcare should be free, and this should be central to this campaign. And my colleague there on NIC ICTU was talking about the hardships that are within schools, and I think Unison have a great campaign going, free school meals for all, and that needs to be central to this campaign as well. Free childcare. And we talked about women being disproportionately affected out of the cost of living, and I welcome Padraig's comments, and I see that he genuinely, he is genuine in his efforts for workers and working class people, and I thank you for that, Padraig, and all our political representatives that are here. But we also need to have enhanced maternity pay within all public contracts as well. Any woman who's going off, and for men too, for paternity, probably more actually. But because it's only 2 weeks for a man, obviously, in terms of paternity leave. But that needs to be something looked at too, Padraig, in terms of enhanced maternity pay for women. But as I say, thank you everybody for coming. There's great energy here, and let's take it outside these four walls. Thank you.
I'll just stand up so you can see me. I'll be very brief. It was an excellent meeting. If the other 14 are remotely as good as this, we'll be going away enthused. Really super. Thank you all so much.
Look to the trade union movement.